Hey, Atlanta sports fans, welcome to another episode of NFL Jocks and Pigskins on Atlanta Sports Unlimited with Tom Pollen. I'm Dave Holcomb. Sorry we're starting a little bit late today. We thought the clocks already went back an hour.
yeah. It's crazy. It's that time of year. Boy, I almost forgot about it too. Thanks.
Tomorrow we'd be 55 minutes early. So
yeah. Hey. So there you go. Fans, we're here. We're early.
We're sending. I want to send a shout out to our producer Chris. He's not here with us today, still on vacation. Hope he's having a good time. We're gonna have a good time today. We're talking Falcons Saints. Big rivalry game tomorrow for both teams. The Saints will be without their starting quarterback Jameis Winston, but the Panthers finished last week without their starting quarterback, and Falcons still weren't able to pull that one off at home.
No, it's 13 points isn't going to get it done. I mean, 3 of those points came at the very end of the game. So
three of the points were at the very beginning when the defense finally caused a turnover too.
Yeah. So it's just at some point you can't excuse this offense. You can't keep making excuses for them. For 2 weeks in a row now, I've said that these are games the Falcons should win.
Yeah.
Definitely should win. And they blew it again. And
they did beat the Dolphins. They beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, they did beat the Dolphins. You're right. Okay. Barely.
And the offense scored 30 points in that game.
But I mean, a terrible game by Matt Ryan through 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
2 bad interceptions. You can't blame those on the receivers. He threw 2 interceptions and just not a lot of yardage. And it seemed like the defense was bend but don't break. I mean, they gave up 4 field goals. So I can't necessarily blame the defense. They didn't play as well as you would like to see, but I can't necessarily blame them. But the Falcons' offense just, fell apart. They couldn't do anything. One thing about their defense is that they didn't get any sacks. That made a difference too.
Well, in a minute, I'm going to tell you why you can't blame the defense when we dive further into this game. We're also going to have your picks, Week 9 against the spread, and your prize picks as well, which that gets into our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks, number 1 place for fantasy sports. It's really easy to sign up. Go ahead and check out Prize Picks, and if you use our promo code ASU, you get a deposit match up to $100.
Okay, free money. Who can argue with free money?
Mm-hmm.
Love free money.
And what we know there's a lot of drama around the NFL with Odell Beckham Jr., Henry Ruggs off-field incident, if you want to call it that.
More than an incident.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a better word for it. Accident.
Wasn't even an accident. He was just being an ass.
Yeah. So we want to acknowledge this thing. Aaron Rodgers made major headlines this week as well. And if there's time, we might get to a couple of those guys at the end of the show. But, I think most people have gotten their fill of those guys at other places. And, specifically with Henry Ruggs, we were talking about before the show, there's not really anything to say. I mean, it's just an awful situation. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible disaster maybe would have been a better way to say it, because the death of somebody that was completely avoidable is just so sad. And I think I guess what I will say about it is people seem to be want to be sad for the victim, or they want to be sad for Henry Ruggs and him ruining his career. I'm sad for both. It's just sad all around. And obviously the worst part is the person died with her dog.
Yes.
But, I can be sad for Henry Ruggs and him ruining his life too.
Well, he didn't have to be behind the wheel. I mean, that's the thing. He didn't have to be behind the wheel. He didn't have to be driving over 120 miles an hour.
I'm not saying that I'm not defending him, Tom. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I think it's still it's sad whenever anyone ruins their life with one decision. However, I believe Las Vegas should throw the book at him.
Yeah.
He did ruin his life with one decision. So
Right. Exactly. Throw the book at him. 20 years.
yeah.
So
The Falcons defense,
okay,
they
go.
did a good job of holding Carolina out of the end zone for most of the game. You're correct, and that is something to be commended. However, they gave up 203 rushing yards. I mean, we were concerned that Sam Darnold would look like an all-pro, like so many quarterbacks do against this defense. Sam Darnold didn't look like an all-pro throwing the ball.
Well,
He did running the ball.
Carolina changed their game plan a little bit. They kind of pulled in their game plan a bit and kept Darnold from, taking those chances. That was by design that they decided to go more with a running game and cut down on the mistakes that they were seeing out of Darnold the last couple of weeks. I mean, the previous couple of weeks. So, but that's the thing. The Falcons didn't do anything about it.
So you sound like Arthur Smith. You're giving all the credit to Carolina, and that's fine. But you don't deserve to win a game if you give up 200 rushing yards in the NFL. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do offensively. Like offensively, they didn't have the ball enough because Carolina just kept grinding out drives with all their rushing yards and converting third and shorts and just it was unbelievable. Yeah, okay, it stalled at the 20-yard line, 15-yard line most of the game, but they still would have won. I guess they wouldn't have won 12-10 because the Falcons kicked the field goal at the end of the game. But they were on their way to winning that game even without that touchdown in the fourth quarter because they were just grinding the clock, getting rushing yards, and kicking field goals. And the Falcons offense did nothing.
That might have been the thing that frustrated Matt Ryan, too. Because he tried to force the ball into, that second to last drive, the interception that really kind of put the dagger in the Falcons' hearts. Might have been more out of frustration because you don't normally see Matt Ryan trying to force the ball. He won't do that. He's been around too long to know about forcing the ball into coverage. But, yeah, I mean, when you don't get that chance, you've got to shut down the run game. And that's the thing I've been talking about all year is the Falcons keep getting pushed backwards off the line of scrimmage. They're not getting any penetration. It's just the way it is. This team doesn't have anybody who can disrupt the line of scrimmage and draw a double team and give other guys opportunities. It's just not there.
And the same problem was on offense too. I'm glad you bring up the line of scrimmages because everyone wants to talk about, well, Calvin Ridley is going to be out, and we will talk about him in a second. And Kyle Pitts, had a rookie moment up against Stephon Gilmore. Fine. Yeah. That's fine. That's true. Very true. But it came down to, well, were you able to establish a running game? Were you able to block Matt Ryan for enough time so that he could find a different receiver than Kyle Pitts? And the answer was no. Defiantly, no. They weren't able to get any running game going. Cordell Patterson had his worst game of the season. He did score the touchdown, but he wasn't really involved at all. And they tried to get Mike Davis more involved after only 4 touches for him against Miami. But, efficiently, he was not very good either. And that's not him. It's the offensive line in front of him.
Yeah. You got to have space to run. You got to have somewhere to go. He can only bowl over so many guys before it just doesn't work.
He works so hard, too. He's such a tough runner. He almost always makes the first guy miss, but he's getting hit by multiple guys at the line of scrimmage.
Right. That's the thing. You got to give him a couple of yards. You got to give him a little bit of a hole that he can squeeze through. He's not getting anything. And you don't get that kind of help. I mean, even the best running backs in the league have to have that. They've got to have something to work with before, as they hit the line of scrimmage. You got to give them some positive yards at the line of scrimmage and let them do what they do, from there. But, these guys are getting hit right at the line. They're not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got to
And
get pushed.
do you think it gets any better against the Saints? And I mean, they will have their backup quarterback, Trevor Siemian, playing. Maybe it will help that Siemian isn't a running quarterback, but I wouldn't say Darnold is necessarily a great running quarterback either. So
no, and Darnold did get a couple of first down runs. He got away from the guys.
he had 60 plus yards rushing. He was a big part of their rushing game.
Yeah. The problem is you're playing another tough defense. The Saints play as good a defense as Carolina does. They're second in the league in yards per carry against. So, if you think that Patterson and Davis had a tough time last week getting yards and getting past the line of scrimmage, it doesn't get any easier against the Saints.
I guess the one hope is, I mean, it was week 2, but they played Tampa Bay's defense, who was at least last year #1 in yards per attempt. You're referencing that, rushing yards per attempt on defense. And they didn't, I wouldn't say they were successful in running the ball, but they were able to move the ball offensively with the passing attack.
Right.
But Tampa Bay's secondary at that point was really banged up. I think New Orleans' secondary is coming into this game much more healthy than Tampa Bay.
They are. And it's, well, let's see. I just drew a blank. Who did they shut down last week?
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. God. Yeah. Yeah, they made Tampa Bay look bad. That's the worst Tom Brady has looked all year.
Mm-hmm.
And Tampa couldn't do anything about it. So, that's the thing. It's going to be rough on the Falcons this game to move the ball, and somebody else has to step up in the wide receiver corps.
Yeah,
because
Calvin Ridley's out.
Right, I didn't see too many targets going to the wide receivers. Hayden Hurst got some targets. Pitts got the majority of targets. Let's take a look at it, because as I watched the condensed game, I didn't see a lot of targets going to anybody else. Tajay Sharp came through. Targeted 6 times, caught 5 balls. So
yeah, but where's Russell Gage?
There it is, right there, Dave.
Yeah. He had the longest play
right.
of the season the week before against Miami, long touchdown pass. They didn't try to get it to him really at all.
They didn't even target him. He was
there you go. Yeah,
he was gone. He disappeared. I was just looking at the stats. The number of targets, it's amazing, because I've never seen a receiving chart with such few number of targets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 players touched the ball other than Matt Ryan. He got the ball to 6 other Atlanta Falcons. You can't have that. That's ridiculous.
He had fewer than 100 passing yards until about 5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, that was garbage time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when the Panthers were laying back, and that's one of the reasons why Gilmore got that interception, because Ryan was desperately trying to get the team back, and you're not going to fool a veteran cornerback like Stephon Gilmore. I mean, he's right there. He got the better of Pitts, and that was all. That was all she wrote for that game.
Pantera asks, if the Falcons lose to the Saints and then Dallas, can we start talking about draft? I can't promise we will be talking about the draft at Thanksgiving time, but I think part of your question is the season over for the Falcons if they lose these next 2 games? Yes, it is.
Of course it is. Now, the hell of it is, they beat the Panthers. The Panthers are now the 7th seeded team in the postseason seeding.
Well, we talked about that last week. Yeah. This was a really big game for seeding, and it's early. We're halfway through the season. It's early to be talking about seeding, but I think for a fan base that hasn't been to the playoffs in a while, it's fair to be excited about being in the playoff picture in the beginning of November. And And
Right.
not that they're out of it, but it was a missed opportunity for sure, losing that game at
Oh,
home to a
terrible
team
opportunity.
that had lost 4 in a row.
Right. Right. Exactly. And you're right. We talked about it last week, and it's too bad. No, yeah. After you're going into week 9, and you don't need to. There's still half the season to go, but actually being in that playoff picture, being that 7th seed, that's something, because you're looking down at a conference that doesn't have a lot chasing you. Uh, you know,
Right. But we talked about this last week too. The top of the NFC is running away with everything.
right.
But then there's not a lot of mediocre teams in the conference that are vying for that,
Yeah.
6th and then the extra wild card spot now, the 7th spot.
Right. So you're even being in that 7th spot, you're in a great position. You're, it was just such a terrible missed opportunity. That's about all I can say. It was disappointing.
I think it's even more disappointing because of that schedule that Pantera brought up coming up.
Right.
Well,
you got the Cowboys coming up. You got the Patriots coming up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the Patriots are starting to figure out how to put the ball in the end zone. Earlier in the season, that was the problem. The Patriots couldn't get into the end zone. They were moving the ball, couldn't score. Well, they're figuring out how to score now. So the Patriots aren't that as easy a game as you might have thought a month ago.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I think what I'm hearing is Patriots are figuring things out, and it's not a good time to be facing them. We'll see if it's still the same way in 2 weeks, but
it's never a good thing to be facing a Bill Belichick team.
I agree. Yeah. I agree with you.
When they're starting to figure things out, no, this isn't the time you want to be seeing them.
Yeah. At the beginning of the season, it was like, oh, that's a home game. We'll see. It's kind of a toss up. It's now not really becoming a toss up. It's becoming a game that the Patriots should win. And the next 3 games are all games the Falcons could very easily lose. And unless they steal 1 or 2, their season's going to be over.
They have to take 2 of these.
Yeah.
They have to find a way to take 2 of these. And again, the problem is next week you're playing Dallas, and Dallas is on fire. And you're playing a guy who's emerging as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Dak Prescott should be fully healthy by then. I don't know if he's going to be healthy this week, but by next week, Dak Prescott's going to be ready. And that's not a good sign, because Prescott's just been tearing the league apart.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Gary asks us to give a mid-season grade for Arthur Smith. Are the Falcons moving in the right direction for next year and beyond?
Oh, mid-season grade. It's tough. I give him a C. I think we're seeing that maybe we were too optimistic about some of the pieces around Matt Ryan. We went into the season maybe a little bit more optimistic than we should have. There's not as much for Arthur Smith to work with his offense. He's doing very well getting Hayden Hurst along with Kyle Pitts involved in the offense. Hayden Hurst is having a decent season. But we're seeing what this offense is without Julio Jones, and it's not as the offense that we thought we were going to see. Defensively, we kind of knew we weren't going to see much. We knew coming into the season we weren't going to see much of a pass rush. So I can't really blame Arthur Smith, because he doesn't have a lot of personnel right now to work with. So I give him a C. I think the offense is improving. I think Kyle Pitts has been improving by leaps and bounds. I think Arthur Smith has been good for Pitts. But, there just aren't enough pieces here to really make the competitive team that we thought we might see coming into the season.
Yeah, I would give them a C too. I think what's most disappointing, if you just look at the season overall, 3 of your 4 losses are against bad teams. You've lost against the
Yeah.
Eagles, you lost against Washington, and you lost against Carolina. I'm counting Carolina as a bad team, a
They
team
are.
that's beatable,
Right.
a beatable team at home. All three of those games at home, by the way, they have no home field advantage whatsoever.
No, it doesn't seem like it. It's really something how bad they're playing at home. Uh, it's and I don't know what the atmosphere has been like at the stadium, but um,
Not particularly good.
I was about to say it doesn't. As I was watching the condensed game, I didn't hear a lot of enthusiasm out of the crowd. I didn't hear a lot of yelling, a lot of excitement. Uh, I think maybe this is a fan base that is kind of resigned itself to what it's going to get this season. But
I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about the fan base because it's our fan base too. So
yeah,
I don't want to.
yeah,
I don't want to say that they're unloyal and they're not showing up. I think they have.
of course, it's a fan base that also had kind of a split. Um, they split their attention span a little bit considering what the Braves were doing.
Yeah,
Congratulations to the Atlanta Braves. Way
absolutely.
to go.
Yeah.
Way to do it. Beat the Astros. That was great. I loved it. All for it.
I think that's an excuse, though. The Braves playing Game 5 on the same day. That game was 7 hours later.
Okay. To me,
that's just me, though. I don't know. If I was just a sports fan, I probably wouldn't be at either game. I would be watching them on TV. So.
Well, yeah, there you go. But
yeah, but for the diehard fans, for the season ticket holders of the Falcons who maybe wanted to go to the Game 5 as well, there was no reason why you couldn't go to both.
Right, exactly.
Time in between both games.
Yep. So I don't see why, but and the thing that gets me is, from what we've experienced doing this show and what I've experienced being around Atlanta sports for the last couple of years, about 3 years, it's a passionate fan base. It's a fan base that generates a lot of passion for its teams. And that's what surprises me, that we're not seeing more of that out at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So we'll see how it goes the rest of the year. But, you got to hear more excitement. Yeah, you may be down about this team, but they still need they still need the support. They still need the people out there pulling for them.
I think part of why I would give them a C is it's a little bit incomplete. And I think it's hard after 7 games to say whether or not the Falcons are heading in the right direction, beyond this year. We can make a grade for this season, but moving on, part of that is Matt. How much longer will Arthur Smith have Matt Ryan? And I think you brought up the optimism. We were maybe too optimistic about the team, the offense anyway, this season. Big part of that optimism was Calvin Ridley. And we find out on Sunday that he's really dealing with something behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And he's stepping away from the team for his mental health. And I know people are probably going to say, well, they're going to point to all the games that he's missed and how that impacted the team. But what he's dealing with could also have impacted the games that he did play in.
I think it did, because the game before,
Miami
Dolphins, the Miami game, a lot of targets, very few catches, did not seem to be himself, and I fully understand that, and I hope that Ridley gets the help he needs and is able to move past where he is. Maybe it's just the fact that being that number one wide receiver got to be too much for him. Trying to fulfill those expectations got to be too much for what his capabilities. And it's a rough thing when you go through depression. It's not something that you can just say, smile, get over it. It really isn't. It and I'm speaking from personal experience. You just can't do it. It doesn't work.
You can't just rub dirt on it.
No, it's and you wish you could, but you can't. And it's very rough. because you set high expectations for yourself, and it's hard to meet the expectations that you set for yourself. You can get very frustrated, uh, and then there's just times where you feel like, I can't describe the feeling. Uh, as I said, I've been fighting depression my entire life. It's not an easy thing, and it's nothing I would wish on anyone. And it's I really feel for Calvin Ridley, and I hope he can get that help and move forward with his life.
I thought it was ironic that Fox Sports did that interview with Lane Johnson pregame show. Did you see that interview?
No, I didn't see it.
It's a really good interview. I would recommend you check it out, or anybody else that's interested to check it out. I think it's on foxsports.com. I saw it on Monday. I hope it's still there today. Um, and Lane Johnson talked about the mental health problems he's been having this season. He did pretty much the same thing Calvin Ridley did. He stepped away from the team an hour and a half before the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that was October 3rd. And he returned a few weeks later. So I hate to talk about, Ridley and when the Falcons might expect him back, because it's more important that he gets right mentally. But
Right.
he might not be out for the season, I guess, is my conclusion from that.
No, he might not. He
But
might not.
also the takeaway from the Lane Johnson interview was the feelings that he described himself feeling, the anxiety, he felt like he had to vomit or was vomiting every single day from
Yeah.
just the nerves that he had of I guess being an NFL player, or just everyday life, that the things that he was dealing with. And I can't say that Ridley has the same exact feelings, but it was a nice, like, behind the curtain look at somebody who's playing in the NFL and is
Yeah.
experiencing similar things to what Ridley might be having as well.
Yeah. Right. It does. I'll take a look for it because it sounds like it's something that a lot of people should watch if you want to really get a feel for what Ridley's going through. I would say it's probably not exact, but I would say it's similar.
Yeah.
Probably very similar. So, just but that's the thing. Also, being Ridley's corner, I'll be there for him. Let him, you know, um, I'm in his corner. I hope he comes back strong. I hope he comes back feeling uh, with a return of the confidence that he should have. The problem with with athletes on the pro level is these are guys who have excelled everywhere they've ever been at. They've
Mhm.
excelled in high school. They've excelled in college, and now you're facing premium competition. And that's part of what being a pro athlete is. You're facing the best competition across the line from you. But if you're not fulfilling that in your mind, that it can be very bad thing to go through. It can really shake your confidence, a confidence that you've built your entire life. And again, being afraid that you're not good enough, or feeling that you're not good enough, or it's not the athletic thing. It's we're supposed to man up and be strong about it. And
I was going to say it's not the macho thing to do. These guys
no,
are, NFL players. They're superstars in our minds as fans, and we put them on pedestals, and we forget that they're human, and they probably forget that too. They forget that they can admit to not being okay. They should admit to not being okay when they're not.
right?
And it took a lot for Calvin Ridley to do what he did.
Yes, it did. It did. And but I'm glad because he had taken, he didn't travel to London, tried playing in the Miami game and did not play well, and finally realized that, in this state, he was not helping the team either.
Mhm.
That he wasn't, because you do feel for your teammates. You want to be there for your teammates. You're always trying to be there for your teammates. And I think maybe he just had the feeling that he couldn't do that. He couldn't be the guy that his teammates needed him to be. And that's another problem. You really need to that's why he went ahead and sat, because he didn't feel like he could do the things out there that they needed him to do. He wasn't, because that shaking confidence, that feelings of depression and the unworthiness feelings that depression can bring on you. It's a rough thing to deal with. I mean, it. I wish I could explain it better to people. Unless you've actually gone through it, you just don't know.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing, and I mean, I say you can't just say something to somebody, say smile and get over it. It doesn't work that way. It's mental. It's not something where you can project any appearance to the outside world, but inside you're falling apart. And it's not rational. There's no rational reason for why you should be falling apart. It's not rational. Depression is not rational.
Right.
Uh, you got a pretty good life going, and it's not. Everybody looking in says, "Well, you're making millions of dollars. You're an NFL wide receiver. You're among the best at your business." Depression is not rational. You look at it from outside, you could say that. If I could step outside of myself, or Ridley can step outside of himself, yeah, he can say that. But it doesn't change how you feel mentally. The brain is not. The brain is a funny thing. We just don't understand. There's so much we don't understand about the brain yet, and be. Yeah, I feel for what Ridley's going through. Yeah, sometimes sometimes it takes all the strength I have just to get through a day. It's the way it is. You don't like to be that. It's rough to say, but that's how depression gets. So I hope he comes back, and I think I'm bringing the show down way too far.
That's okay. It's great insight. I would have made this part of our show title if I knew you would give us such great insight on mental health.
So, yeah.
But we have one other question from Gary about the Falcons and Matt Ryan's future. How about we end the Falcons discussion of our show by answering his question? Given Smith's real goal has to be the Super Bowl in 2023 and beyond, would you trade Ryan this offseason? I think that comes down to, how does his salary break down? And I don't know that off the top of my head. Tom, do you know that off the top of my head?
No, I don't. The problem is,
we'll take that out of the conversation for now. Would you still go forward with Matt Ryan?
I think you have to, because I don't think there's a quarterback. I think it's, from what I've been reading, it's not a strong class for quarterbacks. So this might not be the season where you're going to reach in and get your franchise guy. Now that can change quite a bit. There's still time left in the college season. There's still a lot of evaluation to be done of college quarterbacks. But I haven't seen a lot of names stand out to me where people are saying this guy is, his next step is the pros. Last year we were saying, Trevor Lawrence, this guy's a pro quarterback.
Right. He was a slam.
We were talking about these guys who actually went ahead and were high draft picks. We don't, I'm not seeing that this year. And this might not be the year to trade Ryan. I still think Ryan still has another couple of years in him. But this is not the year where you trade Ryan and try and get another franchise quarterback, because I don't think they're there.
Okay. I like Kenny Pickett. I'm interested to see where he goes if he ends up being a first-round pick.
Yeah, this is not a year of the quarterback like we had last year.
Yeah, but okay. I know a lot of the fact that they're not. I would just say the year of the quarterback isn't looking so great after year one, after half of the year.
Never does. He's a rookie.
That's not true. Lamar Jackson came in and made the playoffs as a rookie.
All right, Lamar Jackson.
Baker Mayfield looked great as a rookie.
He looked
Same
so
class.
as a rookie. He
looked great at the end of the season as a rookie. People still point to those games that he played as a rookie and think that Baker Mayfield can be that quarterback. And I'm not so sure anymore because that's been 3 years ago. But I don't know. I think I've been disappointed with this draft class. It doesn't mean that it won't be great still. But to say, I don't know, to say that, last year we said that this would be an all-time draft class. We've been wrong so far. So maybe we'll be wrong about.
We've been wrong in other years too. I mean, Tim Couch, Akili Smith. That year was supposed to be a year of the quarterback too, and none of them. I think Donovan McNabb was the only one who really distinguished himself in the class.
All right. Well,
but sometimes, you overrate these classes. And that's why I say, we got time. Let's see where the evaluation process gets us. But
I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, though, about waiting for Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan has another year or two in him, too.
The problem is you got so many other needs on this team. You have got to find an edge rusher, and you have got to find an offensive lineman. You can find offensive linemen later in the draft. You're not going to be – if you want an effective edge rusher, you better get them early because they're not going to be there later on in the draft.
Yeah.
There are a lot –
I was big into – I was a big advocate of keeping Matt Ryan for this season. So I think if we had that plan, I think you have to see the plan all the way through a couple more years and continue to build the roster around Matt Ryan. Don't give up on Arthur Smith and the Matt Ryan marriage after one season. I think that's where we'll
right. You got to build your interior lines. You got to build your defensive line. You got to build your offensive line, and that's where the focus needs to be this year because that's where the weaknesses have been this year. They get no pressure. The offensive line gets pushed, and they're not. That's another reason why Mike Davis hasn't looked as effective. It's hard to look effective when you're getting hit on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and they got to start hitting. I mean, they have drafted offensive linemen now. They got to start hitting on them.
You got to hit, right? You got to hit on them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, keep sending in your comments if you want us to return to a Falcons topic. But we're going to move on to Tom's picks here in a minute. I want to reset the show for just a second. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. We'll get into our Prize Picks, Tom's Prize Picks here in a minute. But Prize Picks, the number one fantasy app out there, up and coming app, I would say. Definitely check it out. It's really easy to get started. You just sign up with an email. Use our promo code. Don't forget to do that. ASU. ASU is the promo code. That will get you a 100% match on any deposit you make up to $100.
Yep.
I shouldn't say any deposit. Your first deposit.
First deposit. Any amount you make on your first deposit, 100% match. Right. So free money and it's fun. It adds a little extra dimension to watching the game. It can be fun. It can be frustrating as hell, but it can also be fun.
Well, we got the Falcons, and you got any other teams that you might root for. That's us. We root for other teams, and I'll see you Monday night, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, the hell of it is, Justin Fields. Let's see, 39 minutes into the game. For any of you who are keeping a poll going about when I'll mention Justin Fields, Fields had a great game last week. The problem is the defense played as bad as they played all year. It was the worst defensive showing they've had all season.
Yeah.
But Fields himself played an excellent game. So, you got to do it all at once. But it was encouraging. But you play. What gets me about the Steelers, as bad as they've been this year, I don't know. You think they've been bad? They have not been the Steelers?
At times, yeah.
All right. They're still 4-3.
That makes me smile so much, because it's just like people want to say Roethlisberger's done it. And look, Roethlisberger's definitely way past his prime.
He's done. He can't
But
fire the ball deep like he used to.
But because of that, I think people have said, the Steelers are guaranteed last place in the AFC North. Mike Tomlin's going to leave for USC. There's these outrageous claims. And the Steelers are just too proud of an organization to let that automatically happen. I'm not saying they could still finish in last place.
Right.
But it's a really good division. But they're not going to go down without a fight. They're not going to go down without playing the very best that they can. There's a reason why Tomlin has never had a losing season. It's because of this.
Right.
It's because he's able to rally guys around him, even when it seems like to us that they're just a bad football team.
Yeah. And Steelers fans, so many Steelers fans say, get rid of Tomlin. Good riddance. People, he's 4-3. I looked at the standings. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. How the hell are they 4-3?
And the teams that they've lost to too. At the time we were like, oh, they lost to the Raiders. Oh, okay, yeah. Steelers must not be that great. They lost to the Bengals at home. Oh boy, yeah. The Steelers are not. The Steelers are bad. Well, look at them now. The Raiders and Bengals are both, pretty good teams. I know the Bengals lost to the Jets last week, and maybe that's the beginning of the end of the Bengals. We'll see. But as we sit right now, the Steelers' losses look pretty good too.
Yes, they do. That's right. You got it.
So the other loss was to Green Bay. So
again, another playoff team, 7-1.
Yeah. But I didn't mean to go into the Steelers there. What I'm saying with Prize Picks,
I opened the door for you.
we got the Falcons we're rooting for. We got the Steelers and Bears. We got our fantasy teams. Now we got these Prize Picks, and of course your picks against the spread too.
Yeah, and by the way, anybody have fantasy questions? Shoot them in. Dave's the fantasy expert. All right, Dave will get you going straight on fantasy. You want to know who to start, who to sit. You want to know who's in. Fire your questions in. We don't say that enough from week to week. Get your fantasy questions here. We'd love to see them.
Absolutely. Yep. That sounds great. Two other house cleaning things I want to say. You brought up the Braves championship, the World Series. I just wanted to give them one more shout out and bring up the parade. My God, I hope we have more championships here in Atlanta soon so we can learn how slow to drive in the parade. Did you see that on Twitter?
No, I didn't. I didn't see it.
The parade floats, which are, buses, they're driving by at like 30 miles per hour. You can barely wave to the guys, the players. They went by so fast. It's very clear Atlanta has not had a championship since 1995.
Well, true, right? Yeah, you forget how to do it after a while.
I did not get to go to the parade. I was trying to get my wife to take off work. I told her Cobb County has no school today. Why do you have work? She didn't buy it. So she went to work. I didn't have the the gumption, I guess, to go to the parade by myself. So I just sat at home, watched the tweets, and I saw the buses were going by way too fast.
Oh God, yeah. They need some lessons in championship parades. That's not an easy thing. Especially if you haven't done it for so long. But I'm just considering what that team had to come back from, and not having Acuna for most of the year. Your spark plug. It's just incredible to see what they did, and I was all for it.
It was incredible. Second team to win the World Series that didn't have a winning record on August 1st. I think that was the stat.
Really?
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah,
okay.
It is really incredible. Revamping the outfield on the fly.
Yeah.
The infield holding the offense to the point where they could be 500 going into August and be able to make a run. It was a special season, and I hope we can I hope I can go to the next parade. I'll say that.
So I say enjoy it. Enjoy every season where you have a championship because you never know. I mean, the
It's
Cubs
true.
thought they had a dynasty, and it didn't turn into a dynasty.
It's
So
true.
enjoy it. Enjoy this year. Relish in it. Just buy your Braves gear and just really, you know, you got a long winter to go ahead and enjoy it and say to other fans, hey, we're the best. We did it. We beat the Astros.
Absolutely.
Couldn't have
Absolutely.
happened to a nicer team.
Yeah, it's special. Just I loved watching the post-game interviews with all the players. Brian Snicker has been around for so long. Freddie Freeman has been in the organization for a long time,
Yes.
through the good times and the bad. So
Freddie Freeman is a really quality player. I mean, this
he
guy
is.
he doesn't get the
He's,
attention around the league that he should get.
I hope the Braves pay him. He's a free agent. I really
Yeah.
hope the Braves open their wallet. I know he wants to stay in Atlanta. I don't know if he'd take a discount or not, but don't even let him think about whether or not he'll stay for a discount. Just give him the money he deserves.
Give him the money, keep him in Atlanta. Atlanta is where he belongs.
Yeah.
That's just it. He's one of those guys that you identify the team with him, and that's always a great thing. You don't want to let that get away.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I can say one more thing before your picks, it is No Shave November. You'll notice, got a little growth here. I know it's No Shave November for you all the time, at least the front of your face.
Right.
But I wanted to give, I guess let our listener or watchers know why I'm growing a beard this month, but I also wanted to give some attention to actually what the cause is for. We seem to forget every year, let's just grow our beards every November. Let's be lazy and not shave for a month. That's great. But actually, this cause is for prostate cancer. And the money that you would put towards your shaving products, your razors, your shaving cream, donate that money. It's what, $20, $30?
Something like that, right.
For over a month. Donate that to prostate cancer. I know there's a lot of great causes out there that all need our time, but prostate cancer is something that is important to me. And if you're doing No Shave November with me, donate that $20-$30 to prostate cancer. I'm going to bring this up every single Saturday in November.
Go for it. Absolutely, very important. Glad you did.
All right, so we got your picks. We have your picks against the spread and your prize picks. What do you got for us in week 9?
Well, what I have for you, first one of my best bets, Buffalo Bills are giving 14.5 points. It just seems like the Bills are giving an incredible number of points, but they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the thing is, with Buffalo, when they get a bad team on the opposite side of the ball, they don't give up. They don't let up. They take an early lead, and then they just keep pounding. They beat the football team by 22. They beat the Texans by 40. Beat the Chiefs by 18. This is a team that just doesn't take its foot off the gas, even when it has a big lead. So don't worry about giving up the 14.5 points against a very bad Jacksonville Jaguars team. Jacksonville Jaguars team that went up to Seattle and couldn't beat the Seahawks, quarterbacked by Geno Smith.
They couldn't compete with
no,
Geno.
They couldn't compete.
Yeah. I had a question. I forget the final score of last week's Bills-Dolphins game. And what was the spread of that game? It was a big spread too, right?
That was a big spread. I think that was like
26-11.
Yeah,
so
it was like a 14.5 point spread. So they beat the spread by a half point. So they did cover last week, but it wasn't by much.
Okay.
It was razor thin, but they did cover.
Okay. And you're dipping into that well again, Bills big spread. Okay.
Yep. Just can't shut the Bills down. I am taking the New England Patriots, giving 3.5 at the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh. All right.
As I say, the Patriots are starting to learn how to get the ball in the end zone under Mac Jones. And while the Panthers are strong in defense, I don't see the Panthers having the offense to keep up. they're going to try to do the same thing that they did against Atlanta last week. They're going to try and then speed the game up, keep the ball on the ground, keep the clock running.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's going to work against Bill Belichick.
No, you're facing a different
defense.
You're facing a different defense. You're facing a decent rushing defense, but a very good pass defense, and it's just going to be very hard for them to move the ball. So I like the Patriots giving the 3.5. Be very confident about that. And by the way, my picks against the spread. I pick every week against the spread, and you can get my picks at not WordPress.com, football from A to Z.com, because I paid the money, so you don't have to have the WordPress in there anymore. Football from A to Z.com. You see my picks. Heading into this week 9, I am only one game under 500 against the spread.
All
right. And I pick every game.
Now through Saturday at Target.
My bad. Got ESPN.com opened and automatic video playing.
They do that to you. Yes, I know. They're terrible. Sorry. But I pick every game every week, and I am one game under 500. And you see how that matches up against national experts? A lot of national experts will point to how well they pick straight up, just winners.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Anybody can do that. All right. Anybody can pick over 500 just picking the winners.
Yeah.
Against the spread, they don't tell you what their record against the spread is because it isn't good. And one game under 500, I'm looking for a big week this week to put me over for the season. So my final game, Minnesota Vikings versus the Baltimore Ravens -6. Baltimore Ravens coming off their bye week. Baltimore Ravens coming off a bad loss to the Bengals. And Baltimore Ravens are going to be not very happy. This is not going to be a good thing for the for the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings lost last week to a Dallas Cowboys team at home that didn't have Dak Prescott at quarterback.
And I believe the Cowboys committed like 11 penalties in that game. For them not to win that game was pretty atrocious.
It really was.
Yeah.
It was just terrible for the Vikings. They're facing a Baltimore Ravens team that just wants to kick somebody's butt this week. And guess what? It's going to be the Vikings. So take the Ravens -6, take the Patriots -3.5, take the Bills to just beat down the Jacksonville Jaguars. And one of the problems that you get with these double-digit spreads is something like the Rams last week against the Texans. The Rams were big. They were like 16-point favorites against the Texans. The Texans, they had like a 38-0 lead, let the Texans score 22 points in the fourth quarter, took their foot off the gas, completely stopped playing defense. And which was another thing because I had Davis Mills. I had Davis Mills under in my prize picks for under passing yards, and was practically guaranteed that I was going to win until the fourth quarter when the Rams just stopped playing.
Yeah.
I think Davis Mills passed for 200 yards just in the fourth quarter. You can't have it.
That's the danger of going the under, right?
It is.
Yeah.
But this is also, to me, it shows a team's character. The Buffalo Bills are a team with character. They get a team down, they kick them. They keep kicking them. They don't let them up. The Rams had the Texans down, a terrible Texans team, and you let them back into the game. You can't, that's just insane that you would allow that to happen. And to me, that shows the character of a team. That's why I am not sold on the Rams being a Super Bowl contender this year.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Right now, I don't think they have it. Once the playoffs start, I don't think they have mental aspect down. You kick, as I say, you don't let a team like the Texans back in a game against you. And true, it was a 16 points at the end of the game, but you had them down. Where's your pride? Where's your pride on defense?
Well, a lot of their stars probably weren't playing though, right?
But still, I don't know. I don't know who lined up for them on defense, but you can't let that happen. To me, it's a sign of character. Just like the Colts against the Jets Thursday night. The Colts were up 26 points, 3+ scores, and they almost let the Jets back into the game. With Josh Johnson as their quarterback. It's just you can't do that and expect me to take you seriously as a playoff team.
Okay.
It doesn't happen. So
I like the Rams. We'll see. See where it goes.
Except there's something, Matthew Stafford has never won a playoff game.
Oh yeah, but
and over his career has only won 2 games against teams that have finished over 500.
I mean, that's changed this year. Beat Tampa Bay.
Yeah, beat Tampa Bay. So that's one.
I think a lot of those stats are going to change now that he's with the Rams. I mean, he was playing for Detroit. He's only played in 3 playoff games, so he's 0-3.
When he made the playoffs with Detroit, he had some pretty good teams. Kevin.
I don't think they ever played a home game in the playoffs.
No, but you got Calvin Johnson. You had a good, strong defensive line.
But I guess what I'm saying is they were not favored to win those games.
No, they're not. But Stafford did nothing to help them win those games either. And
okay.
That means something to me. We'll see. We'll see.
I like the Rams better than the Cardinals.
Like the Rams better than the Cardinals?
Yeah, I do. I do not think – we talked about this last week. I do not think Kyler Murray will finish the season healthy. That is the problem the Cardinals have.
That's the problem you have with any running quarterback.
It's true. But Lamar Jackson, I don't know if he's ever been injured. He's had missed more games from COVID than he has from injuries. But Kyler Murray doesn't miss games, but his injuries severely hurt his dual threat ability.
Right.
So that'll be interesting. We'll have to do a Cardinals-Rams showdown, you and I, at some point after our Bears-Steelers showdown on Monday Night Football.
Right, exactly.
So what are your prize picks?
Well, my first prize pick, and again, it's rough. The Falcons are going to have a tough time running the ball. But Cordell Patterson is only projected rush yards of 33.5. He's going to get the ball a lot more than that. I don't see any way that Cordell Patterson does not get 33.5 rushing yards. He gets the ball enough times that he's going to, even with the problems, I think he's going to be there.
Only way I would see that happening is if they just feature him in the receiving game and don't run him enough for him to get 33 yards.
Well, that's 33 yards rushing yards.
Right, that's what I'm saying. What if they only throw him passes and he's not used in the backfield very much? That would be my only concern.
They didn't do that much last week.
They haven't done it much.
Last week would have been the time to do it.
I don't think he got 33 rushing yards last week, though. Am I wrong?
Did he? Let me take a quick look. I will tell you right now. Let me take a quick look at the statistics. And he got 35 rushing yards last week on 9 carries.
There you go.
Don't argue with me, Dave.
All right, so he has. If you're looking at the last 4 games, he's been over 33 rushing yards.
Yep. I think he gets there again.
Okay.
Wide receiver Jacoby Meyer is 50.5 receiving yards. Take the over because I think Mac Jones likes Jacoby Myers, and I think they're developing. It's kind of like here in Chicago with Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney. Allen Robinson may be the on the outside looking in when it comes to the Bears receiving, because Justin Fields has picked out his favorite receiver, and it's not Allen Robinson.
Yeah. Right.
Which is unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. Buffalo, Stephon Diggs, 80.5 yards. I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a big game against a terrible Jacksonville Jaguars secondary. Take Stephon Diggs. Enjoy. Enjoy it. As I say, take these picks, take them out there, win your pick pool, win your survivor league. Take these three and
Pantera's taking them.
Okay. Pantera's taking them.
Yep.
So put Bills, Ravens, them both in the multiplier. Okay. Pantera, hope I come out for you. Definitely.
That's about all we have for today's show. If you stuck around to hear more of our takes on Henry Ruggs or Aaron Rodgers, I apologize. We're not going to get to those guys today, and probably better for it than to talk about those topics.
Let's put it this way. Aaron Rodgers, Bears fans have known for years that Aaron Rodgers was a real ass. This is not a surprise to Bears fans.
Yeah. I guess if I could say one thing about Rodgers, I think he made it very clear that he just doesn't care about anybody but himself.
No, exactly.
He doesn't care about his teammates. He doesn't care about the left, the woke mob. He doesn't care. He doesn't even care about the right. He doesn't care about anybody but him.
This is all about him.
All
about him.
So I think Jeopardy is going to keep that in mind when they're picking their next host.
Yeah,
I think he has no chance to be a Jeopardy host.
No.
But I wanted to, before we go, I wanted to give one small piece of fantasy advice. We have 4 bye teams again this week, 4 next week. And then I think by that time we'll be through most of the buys, if not, not maybe 90% of them. We had 6 buys 2 weeks ago. I wish I would have given this advice then. But if you're dealing with a lot of bye weeks this week, I think the best advice I can give is there's a reason why the guys on your bench are usually on your bench. It's either they don't have a high floor or they don't have a high ceiling.
Right.
It's usually one of the two. And this won't work 100% of the time. But one strategy you could use is look at your matchup. Are you playing a really great team? Are you playing a team that has players that are in great matchups? If the answer is yes, then go with the players off your bench you need to plug in for bye that have the high ceiling. They're also going to have the low floor, but it doesn't matter if you lose by 50.
Right.
Go for the guys that are going to give you a chance to outscore the other team.
Yeah, somebody that might come through for you.
If it's the opposite and you think this is where I think the strategy is kind of dangerous. You underestimate your opponent and you think, oh, the lower ceiling guys, the higher floor, safer picks on my bench will get me the win. If you think that's possible, you can go with that strategy. But there is some danger in that because you never know who could go off and have a huge day.
Right. Exactly.
But you can use this if you're torn, if you're between 2 guys that neither one is a great pick for your lineup. Kind of take a look at who has the higher ceiling, higher floor. How many points do you think you're going to need to win and make your lineup decisions that way?
Yeah, that's great advice. So I'll have to look at that because I've lost 2 games in a row now. So it's been a good fantasy season.
Got to get you back on the winning track.
Got to get back on the winning track.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think Derrick Henry being out is going to change the projection of a lot of fantasy seasons. Because I think a lot of teams that have Derrick Henry have been doing really well. And we'll see. Hopefully you guys got Jeremy McNichols. I think he's going to be the guy, not Adrian Peterson in Tennessee. But we'll see. We'll see how the carries go with those 2 in Tennessee.
No, Peterson's insurance policy. McNichols is going to be the guy who gets the ball.
Yeah, I would think. And it elevates Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones's value as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I got Tannehill.
And I got A.J. Brown.
Okay, so there you go.
Thanks for tuning in this Saturday. We'll be back again, noon Eastern time next Saturday. Enjoy week 9.
Have a great week.